following program is a SUTV student production. The views expressed are not necessarily those of Salisbury University, the University System of Maryland, its regents, administration, officers, employees, or representatives.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, this is your second time running for Congress, so what do you think is different about this year and this election for you?
Oh, it's totally different than last time. The first time, I got into it very late because our previous candidate was still running. I was still practicing medicine, which I have now stopped, so I can put all my energies into campaigning. This time I have a professional campaign team working with me, and I've got coordinators and volunteers in all of the 12 counties involved. So things are much different this time.
Okay, good. And what is important for you, why is it important for you to visit the campus of Salisbury University and other ones throughout your district?
Well, university campuses throughout the district are important for me to visit all of them. First of all, I care about students, and plus education is something that's critical for our future. And, of course, you guys now can vote. So I want to make sure that you know what the issues are and make a good decision, and I hope, of course, you'll vote for me.
Well, and what do you think that you can bring to the young voters of the campus? What do you offer for, like, for example, financial aid or student loans or different things that are going to be of issue to students?
Sure. Well, there are obviously many issues that students face, and you just brought up some of the key ones there with the student loans. And that's really because of the tremendous increase in the tuition expense that's happened over the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 years. It's really gotten a little too high, I think. But still, a college education is a tremendous investment and probably the best thing you can do in your life for your long-term career. However, we don't want people to finish school and then be burdened for the rest of their lives with student loans. So there has to be ways, and in fact, Brooke, there are some really good ideas out there that I would like to work on when I'm in Congress, such as limiting the amount that any student would have to pay per month based on what their income is after they get out of school. Some people are able to get a good job and pay their loans off right away. Others aren't, and you don't want the interest to build up to the point where it gets to be unmanageable. Also, if you've been paying your student loan on a regular basis for a certain length of time, let's say 20 years, we should just say you're done. And if there's an amount left over, that just gets wiped away. Because we don't want people going into retirement homes still owing student loans. So there's lots of work that can be done, and I'd like to get to Congress to work on that for you.
Good. And so as a doctor, obviously, and as a Democratic politician, what do you think about the Obamacare system and what it provides for people?
Well, let me tell you this, that the United States was really needing something like this, because when I was practicing, every day in my office I would see patients who were falling between the cracks in the system. They were earning too much money to qualify for Medicaid, but they weren't earning enough money to purchase private insurance. So they went without any insurance. And that, if you look at the statistics, about 50 million Americans just had no insurance at all. And you know what happens if you're working hard and have no health insurance, if you get an illness that you could be one illness away from bankruptcy. So this will help to prevent that and help to give everybody access so they'll have the ability to get affordable care and to have also to put the emphasis on prevention. So there are lots of good things about it. You know, you might ask, did the rollout work out smoothly? Obviously not. We're having lots of problems with that still. But, you know, I think we're going to get past that. And people are going to say, you know what, we as a country are much better off now with the Affordable Care Act than before.
Okay. And what do you offer that differs from the competitors that you'll be facing in this election? Well,
there are competitors in the primary and there are competitors in the fall. In the primary, well, there are many things that differentiate me from my one primary opponent, who is Mr. Tillman. And I think it's up to you to check out and decide for yourself. But let me just tell you that, you know, I've raised a family here on the shore. I've run a small business here. And I've been elected to office here in the past. So these are some differences you might want to check out. Now in the fall, the differences are more like night and day. I'm going to be going up against Andy Harris, and he votes along with the Tea Party, and we could talk about him for half an hour, but let me just say that I think I want to get to Congress because I want to solve problems and I want to work on behalf of the people that I represent.
Okay. And in Wycomico County, education is a big issue, especially with funding and the different processes that go on in the educational system. Mm-hmm. What would you do in Congress, and what kind of issues would you bring up to Congress about the educational system, not just in Wycomico County, but in the district?
Mm-hmm. You're talking about like K through 12 education?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we like to believe that we have a level playing field, and we like to believe that public schools can equip any student to succeed in this world today. But in fact, we know that there are some schools that are really not on the same level with others. And part of that is actually a reflection of the structure of the reimbursement system. In other words, where do schools get their money? And in our country, we rely a lot on local property taxes to fund the local schools. And when that happens, you get kind of a circular problem, and that is that people who have money want to go to places where there's good schools, but there are good schools there because people are there who have money. Mm-hmm. And it goes the other way too, so that poor schools get more poor, rich schools get more rich, and they become more uneven. So I think that there are structural changes that we could make, and that the federal government should have more of a role in making sure that every student has a good quality education, and to eliminate some of the disparities that we see today. Mm-hmm.
Good. And so why is it important for you to run for the 1st District yet a second time? Why did you come back, and why did you think that, you know, this time would be different and this time mattered?
Oh, absolutely. I think it matters a lot. And you know, our country, excuse me, Brooke, our country in the last year has seen a lot of obstructionism in Congress. You know this, that there's a small group of people who have gone there with the idea of just slowing things down or being obstructionist. And because of that, we're not getting important problems solved for our country. Now, it turns out that if you look at the numbers, if we just take 17 of the most radical right current sitting congressmen and replace them with Democratic-leaning congressmen, that would change the entire complexion of Congress. So we have a district that has a representative who votes along with the Tea Party, and it's time for him to go. And changing that will help. I mean, this is all we can do is one at a time, but we can help be one of those 17.
Good. And I know that you have a long list of credentials of being an OBGYN and being from Chestertown. Mm-hmm. All those aside, what would you like voters to know about you as a person?
Oh, well, thank you for that question. I think I'd want them to know that I've spent a career caring for people and looking after women and their families and raising my own family. And I'd want them to know that I want to solve problems and do things in a way that's not necessarily Democrat or Republican, but that's looking at problems and using a clear eye and using a scientific approach to take care of problems and move our country forward.
Good. And this is just kind of a personal, like, fun question. Do you watch any of the government-based shows on television, like House of Cards or Scandal or anything?
Yeah. well, you know, of course, House of Cards season 2 just came out recently. I think I'm on episode 7 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about them? Do you think that they represent the government very well, or?
Well, I sure hope not. But they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr.
Great.
John LaFerla.
Great. Thank you, Brooke, for having me.
Thanks.